With us tonight, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and Newsmax contributor Alan Dershowitz also with us. Professor Dershowitz is also the author of Guilt by Accusation, and also with us tonight, former Trump senior campaign advisor and co-host of War Room Impeachment, Jason Miller. And we'll talk more about President Trump's revenge on the deep state in a moment with Jason, but let's start with Professor Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, Democrats in Congress are outraged by Barr's actions, which led to 4 prosecutors on Stone's case to quit. First, what was your reaction when you heard these prosecutors decided to quit?
Well, first of all, let's get the law straight. The president has the constitutional authority to direct the Justice Department to change its recommendations. That's his power. Thomas Jefferson did it in the Andrew Burr case, in the Burr case. It's been done by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was done by Kennedy. The president has the constitutional authority to direct the Justice Department to recommend sentences. The president says he didn't do it in this case. He certainly has the right to express his views. Let me express my views. The sentence in this case was outrageously high, utterly irresponsible. And the prosecutors who recommended 7 to 9 years, I think the country is in better shape with them not being in the Justice Department than with them being in the Justice Department. A first offender, nonviolent, 7 to 9 years, that's essentially life imprisonment. I think the Attorney General did absolutely the right thing. Whether he did it for the right reasons or not, I don't know. But he did absolutely the right thing. A sentence of more like a year or 2 would be far more appropriate in this case.
And it seems like even people who should know better, Professor Dershowitz, are conflating the judiciary, which is an independent branch of government, and the Department of Justice.
Sure. I mean, the judiciary, you can't tell the judge what the sentence. Right. The judge has complete freedom, and the Justice Department isn't telling the judge what the sentence. They're just saying we're not recommending 7 to 9 years. On the merits, that's absolutely the right decision. 7 to 9 years is outrageous and just immoral. And no other Western democracy would sentence somebody at that range. We have more people in jail today than any other country consistent with our populations, and particularly first offenders, old people, white collar. It just makes no sense at all.
Well, William Barr said he's willing to testify in the House Judiciary Committee. What does his willingness to testify say to you? This is going to be an interesting, I think, dynamic between William Barr and Jerry Nadler.
He's going to say I did the right thing and the Congress did the wrong thing with the guidelines. And it's about time we got rid of the guidelines. They have increased sentences so multifold. When I started practicing law, 20% of cases went to trial. Today, something like 3% of cases go to trial, because if you dare to plead not guilty, as Stone did, you get a multiple of 5 or 6 times what you would have ordinarily gotten. If he had pleaded guilty, he'd have probably gotten a year or 2. But instead, he pleads not guilty, and he gets what's called the trial penalty, an additional 5 or so years, not for any crime, but for the sin of actually going to trial. So maybe this will alert the public to the horrible injustices that are going on every day in our justice system.
Yeah, not to mention the burdensome costs for anybody who wants to defend themselves in a trial. Roger Stone fortunately had a lot of support from donors, but it costs millions of dollars to defend a case like that. Let's talk a little bit more about the reaction and some of the critics for what the president has done and what William Barr has done. The former director of the Office of Government Ethics during the Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations, Walter Schaub, said this, quote, "A corrupt authoritarian and his henchmen are wielding the Justice Department as a shield for friends and a sword for political rivals. It is impossible to overstate the danger." And here's Alabama Democratic Senator Doug Jones.
Totally inappropriate on the department, of the hierarchy of the Justice Department. It is really cracking some foundations of the Justice Department that have long been held, and I'm concerned about that.
So do you think these statements are purely political, Professor Dershowitz?
They are purely political. When Obama tried to influence the Justice Department, there were no complaints about it. When Kennedy influenced the Justice Department, there were no complaints about it from Democrats. Look, it would be much better if the Justice Department were completely insulated. Most Western democracies separate out the Office of Attorney General from the Office of Director of Public Prosecution. We merge the two together. The Attorney General is both a political advisor to the president on legal matters and also the chief law enforcement officer. In England, there's a Minister of Justice who's the advisor to the Prime Minister, and then there's the Director of Public Prosecution. In Israel, the same thing. Most other Western democracies divide the function. We merge them, and it creates a kind of schizophrenic role for the Attorney General. It would be better if we didn't have that, but having it, the president has the authority to direct the Attorney General to recommend a lower sentence if he feels that it would be an injustice. The president says he didn't do it here, but if he had done it, it would not violate the Constitution. It would violate traditions in the Justice Department, but those are just traditions.
That's right. There's a big difference between violating the law and violating traditions. Professor Dershowitz, great to see you. Thank you for your time. A reminder to everybody at home, make sure you get a copy of Professor Dershowitz's book, Guilt by Accusation. Great to see you, Professor Dershowitz. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.